so many people live in their head, they go to therapy in their head, they go in circles and nothing changes because it just becomes a circular conversation. And so what do you got to get yourself to act? Well, to get yourself to act, you have to get yourself in a state where you'll do it. So you can take anything and make it represented in your mind as evil or good, as difficult or easy. And the way we represent things is the way we feel. Two people can have the same event, but they don't have the same experience. And it's how they represent it in their mind. You don't experience life, you experience the life you focus on. If I'm focused on what's wrong, my life is wrong. If I focus on what I love, my life is love. It really comes down to, yes, the way you represent the world is the way you experience the world. So I feel, what's life? Oh, it's a test. Well, then what's life like if it's a test? Well, if it's like a test, then it's hard and I gotta study and I could fail. Or someone would say, then life's easy because I'm good at tests, right? Depends on the person. Or is life, a battle? Then those people always are looking for someone to fight with. They expect there's gonna be a fight. It's always a struggle. And they find a way to make it a struggle because that's what their body does. And then, is life a party? Is it a dance? Is it sacred? Is it a gift? Like however you represent life, it'll change completely what you're feeling and what you're doing.
So the video that we just shared of Tony Robbins, one of our favorite transformational, yeah. I call him a
motivational speaker,
life coach. Sensational because he really can articulate so well and he just he has such a broad audience to where like everybody can identify with that. And one of the favorite quotes from that little video clip was when he said, so many people live in their head and they go to therapy in their head, they go in circles in their head, and nothing changes.
Why is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I think that is so true. Even for people like you and I, excuse me, that know how to change the framework of our thoughts. From being pessimist to optimist, we still struggle. We still fall.
Mm-hmm. So I would say it's a brain
patterns, habits, and patterns.
Like it's just what the brain does. The brain creates thoughts.
Yeah.
And then, but we have also the ability to impact those thoughts if we create consciousness about it. That's how I see it.
Yeah, that's true. So basically, some individuals watching this really aren't going to understand even the title. What does it mean, changing the framework of your thoughts? You want to define it for them? Like, what is your definition? When somebody says that, what does that look like to you?
Can I answer in a different way what I want to say?
Sure.
I would say why, instead of defining like, what mattered? Why would you look into your frame, like your mindset? Because, like Tony Robbins said, like everyone, most of us live in our head. We're not even aware that we live in our head. It's just an automatic going, like I'm waking up, I'm doing this, I'm thinking that, and then I'm talking to myself. Like how many times we talk to ourselves about talking to each other, and then when we meet with each other, we just say something different.
Yeah.
Like I was, on my way here thinking about all the things I want to talk about, and then I get here like, oh, and then I talk differently, right? Like.
Yeah.
So I would say we have a mindset that gives our thoughts created our behavior. Our behavior
thoughts create or can lead to the behavior.
And the behavior is a response and create our actions, right? So our actions are correlated to the way we think about things.
Yeah.
So if we have empowering thoughts, we're going to have empowering conversations, empowering actions. If we have disempowering thoughts, the disempowering actions will follow.
Right. And also, like, to top off what you just said, empowering thoughts equating to positive thoughts lead to positive results. When we allow our mind or the framework or our thoughts about a situation or a set of circumstances to be negative, typically it's going to render negative results and it doesn't move us forward. And so with that being said, we want to just kind of paraphrase. Have you ever heard of paraphrase? It's like para with some fries.
Well, with my English accent.
Yeah.
So I have
You're rubbing
spoke.
off.
I probably have done and spoke many of those without
Yeah,
knowing.
you're rubbing off on me. That's what I think is what's happening. I think your accent's endearing. I love it. So let's just, in a nutshell, kind of, recap what we're talking about. So a mind frame or mental framework is a personal growth framework that encompasses the particular way someone thinks, feels, and behaves. So that's what we're talking about in today's episode. And why we wanted to do this episode is we feel it's important to understand that having the right mind frame is crucial for accomplishing goals and personal growth. It's also developing a mental framework that allows you to see the perspective of other individuals. And
So just recapping, there's two things we're going to talk about, like the emotions, thoughts, and feelings, like how it is and why we want to be interested in them. Why do you want to look into bring consciousness to it? And then how to do that, like we can look and discuss like things that we do to bring that up, and how that is important in building up relationships,
right,
in romantic, children, parenting, with businesses, like every
Everything.
relationship is based on your mindset
and the way you process, and basically how to effectively respond to challenges, because that it ultimately is why we would need to change the way that we are absorbing a situation or information.
I'm thinking that my son, if he's watching this, he would be saying like, "Oh, I'm glad that you're looking at your mindset, your framework."
Because in his mind, it's only your responsibility. Because in his mind, you're the only one that needs to change, right?
Yeah, isn't it like that?
Yeah.
Like, how many people around us we want them to change?
Yeah. No, seriously, we were just having a privy conversation to this episode, saying that when you get to our age, or our generation rather, people start thinking like, I don't need to change. I'm perfect just the way I am. I, survived.
Deal with me.
Yeah, deal with me. Yeah, if you don't like me the way that I am,
it's your problem.
Yeah, you need to change. Well, how does that serve a relationship? How does that serve personal
some
growth?
people don't want to have more relationships. They just want to be left out.
Well,
I would say that there's other
it.
things we can talk about it deeper than that, because I see a lot of people, and I see, like, as a therapist, I see a lot of people that come with a lot of body problems that is, what do you call, like, psychosomatic manifestation of the internal thoughts and internal feelings manifested in the body as a disease.
Yeah.
Right?
Stress stress can actually increase cancer, meaning like cancer can spread. So that's why they try and monitor your stress
We
levels.
didn't talk about this, but I want to bring it up about Louise Hayes. Have you heard about her?
No.
She is a speaker, and she brought it up. A lot of emotions, they're correlated to different problems or thought process, complaints. So the term is specific complaints or specific upsets will lead to specific diseases. Very interesting, but coming back to the topic, because I have a tendency to go everywhere.
Yeah, that's okay. All right, so let's talk about 3 key elements on the subject matter. Growth mindset. The belief that abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. So growth mindset. So that kind of touches on what you and I just said. Some individuals just feel like they are content, they're successful, their relationships are successful, and they're perfectly happy in
I would say that sometimes they're content in where they are because they became resigned about something else. I would say that.
What do you mean?
Because like I see people who would like to have different types of relationship in their lives, would have different types of quality in their relationships, but they gave up.
Right, some give up, and some people only surround themselves with yes people. you can look in their circle of friends, they're yes people.
So
You
then
can look
why do I need to grow? I just like
right,
just,
because
I
they're
don't want to
not-
do the hard work.
or they're not aware of it. They've lived in a bubble.
Yeah, okay.
They've
I
lived
got
in
you.
a bubble. They've had no, when you step out of your comfort zone and you start to have people who challenge your thought
Mhm.
process or challenge the way that you go about doing things in general, then all of a sudden it's like a rude awakening.
Mhm.
They're
Mhm.
completely unaware. They lack self-awareness and they're completely unaware.
Yeah.
So that is why
They're not interested.
yeah,
That's
or
why
they
you
don't.
said like it through dedication and hard work.
Yeah.
You have to look for it.
And that's also an important takeaway, is that if you want to improve your relationships, improve your opportunities, in life, in your personal life, in your work life, you need to have the ability to be able to combat negative situations.
I would say this. I
circumstances.
would challenge you right now. Like write it down there under the our, what do you call that? The podcast, the whatever you're watching there. Like write it down. Why would you be interested in having a growth mindset? Why would it matter?
Yeah.
Right? Like for me, it matters because of the quality of relationship I want to have with my children. It matters because I have a business that I empower and I contribute to change people's health.
Mm-hmm.
Like I create a life that it matters. It matters that like me growing, having this growing mindset makes the difference in my purpose in life.
Yeah. And for me, the reason why I constantly work on this, because I have many faults, we're sinful individuals, is because I want to be a better person. I always want to evolve in my higher self. I want to be able to extend the benefit of the doubt to individuals, but at the same time, I want my boundaries respected. And so got to be open-minded to that. I mean, none of us are perfect, and none of us lived a perfect life.
I have to say this.
Yes.
You said we all
Sinful. We're sinful.
Sinful?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that way. And it's so interesting. I'm pointing this out because I got lost into getting the point you're making because I got hooked with that way of seeing things. So tell me again why it matters to you to have a growth mindset.
And relating to me saying
because
I'm sinful.
Because that
We're all sinners. We're not perfect. The only person
I get it, but I see in a different way. I don't see it as a sin, but that gave
sinful
me like
means
a
that sinful. Basically, what I bring that up in that particular, when I'm.
That's
when
a
I'm
mindset,
presenting.
right?
Well, no,
That's a
I
framework.
understand that none of us are perfect. None of us are perfect. Only Jesus Christ was perfect. God is perfect. So with that being said, it's important to understand that nobody's perfect. It's to understand that we are not perfect. We are going to make mistakes, as will other individuals. And then that's when you have to extend compassion. You have to, you always want, that's why we have to constantly improve ourselves, to better ourselves. If we were perfect, then we would be the one sitting back saying,
here's a different point of view, right?
Fine.
This is so cool. This is a different point of view. Since there's no right or wrong, there's different points of view, right?
Tell me more. Yeah.
I have it that we are all perfect, limited by our self-expression. So it's like the perfection is already in us, and then we are living life to discover all the perfection and bring that up. It's already all in us.
Okay.
It's just a different way of seeing it.
Sister, but I am not perfect.
And but that's so. I just want to bring that up because I see it in a different way.
That's your philosophy.
Yeah, and I see it in a different way, and this is perfect because there's no right or wrong. There's just and the I think that what we have in agreement here, and I love that we are able to bring this up, is that I have a growth mindset because I'm committed to have a life that makes a difference. I'm committed to have my life for myself and others make a difference. And me is staying like, oh, this is it. You take me if you want it or not. It doesn't make me grow. It doesn't make me to make a difference. If it's because of sin or because I am like developing myself, that's secondary.
Well, that perspective would be contrary and a contradiction to what it is that you are wanting to do for others.
Exactly, right?
So yeah.
So that's where like I'm interested in developing myself, because there's an expansion of my soul, or this is how I see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's an expansion what is available for me to contribute. There is an expansion of evolving my empowerment for myself in the contribution of others. Because think about it, we all want to make a difference. We all want to contribute.
Well, yeah, and I think that's exactly why we're here too.
Yeah.
So the second key point is metacognition, and that's awareness of one's own thought processes and the ability to enhance learning and problem solving by optimizing one's approach.
Okay, translate for me.
So basically, if often when we find ourselves in a situation or a set of circumstances that spike an emotion from us, an emotional response, and that emotion could be anger, or it could be fear, or it could be resentment. Well, we have to be able to approach it differently if we want a different outcome, right?
Uh-huh.
So for instance, this is an example. If you have an individual, let's say your significant other, your spouse, that constantly leaves their shoes right by the front door, right where everybody
How about
can
the wet
trip
towel?
over, or wet towel, okay? So, and you constantly keep telling them, don't leave it here, don't leave it here. And all they do is consider that nagging, and it hasn't worked. Well, then you have to kind of not reframe the way that you look at the situation, but you have to reframe your approach to it. Because how many times are you going to go through that same pattern? You're going to never get
It's automatic.
Yeah, you have to. So then you have to be cognitive and aware. The fact is, listen, it hasn't been working.
Yeah.
And I'm going to change the way I approach that situation first in my mind, understanding how do I speak his language to where that individual is going to understand, and approach it differently.
Yeah, I think that
and vice versa, real quick, vice versa. That person on the other end, the receiving end of that exchange, instead of saying oh my God, they're nagging. Well, reframe that.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it? Maybe what is it from her perspective or his perspective? Why my shoes are such a bother?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to put them back on again. That's why I'm leaving them there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a mutual respect. Right?
Yeah, I would add a few things here. One is automatic. It takes some interest on looking at the so one habit I have is okay, if I see myself being upset about something over and over,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go and look at myself. Always the circumstances, people are gonna do what people are gonna do, circumstances gonna happen. How I respond gives me power. If I'm become oh, people did this, they did that, the shoes was left and I have to do it, I become a victim of the situation. I have no power there.
Yeah.
Right? So if I catch myself upset, if I catch myself constantly nagging about something, the only place I can go to alter is how I'm framing, how is my mindset.
Or you
about
can
that
just always pick up the damn shoes.
but every time now I will get into a point that I'm gonna be resenting.
Yeah.
And then
exactly.
I'm gonna say, "F this, you're gone." Take your shoes and you're out.
Yeah, you can control the situation that way too.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, and how many of us do that?
Yeah.
We don't communicate.
You give in.
You don't take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
You just get rid of it.
Yeah. You either give in, you throw in the towel, or you say, "Shoot, maybe they're right and I'm wrong," right? Or you.
What is
or
a
you just nip it.
victimization too? Yeah.
Well, yeah. So.
You lose power in
Yeah.
that.
And-
So I would say, so first of all is where I'm losing power. I don't have peace of mind here. I don't have love and affinity here. I'm upset. And then I let go the upset or whatever frustration and emotions, and I go into like, what is the thought process behind this?
Mm-hmm.
Am I having a disempowering conversation about this? How am I seeing this? How am I framing this situation?
Yeah.
I think that's like a way of actually looking for before I can alter anything.
And guys, I know this seems like, what? This whole conversation over a damn pair of shoes? No, it's just, that was just one little small example.
Yeah, like it's not
much
about the
deeper
shoes.
than
It's about like how many times. Well, because if I go on and on in my head,
Yeah.
it's like how many times I'm not respected.
Right.
Like it's like, it's important to me. I'm not heard. I have a lot of
Yeah.
stories about that shoes. It's not the shoes.
Well, and this next point,
Go for it.
point number 3 is going to tie in to what kind of
I'm getting to it.
Yeah, right here. Self-authorship, the capacity to define one's own beliefs, their values, and their social relationships rather than relying on external formulas. So basically the way that I summarize that to correlate with what we just talked about is choose your battles wisely. What is really important to you? What do you want to, what is it that you want to change? And so in a situation like this is that respecting, in the case of a pair of shoes that I'm constantly tripping over or something, it essentially says to me, you're disrespecting me because you know that is something that I don't do in other people's homes, and it's a nuisance to me. I've communicated it to you several different ways, and and it's again, you just like, not important to you, therefore you don't have to respect what's important to me. So you have to decide what your philosophies are, what you stand on, what your principles are, and then you decide if your boundary's been compromised, and you have to reset it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a matter of like, on the big scale, that's like a little thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna waste my breath on this. I'm just gonna pick up the damn shoes and move them.
Or just leave it behind.
Well, yeah, or leave it behind. So that's kind of, and you have to know who you are, right? Because if you're jumping all the way around, if one time you complain about it and another time you don't, then you're going to confuse a person.
I think it's very important, especially in relationships. No, like not especially. It's very important you knowing and honoring your values and principles, and then creating relationships and being very clear
and consistent.
Consistent too, but like really transparent, like speaking up about the values and principles from the beginning. See, I think, like, let's pick up the example of a relationship with the shoes, right? Let's say you're like a new roommate. Maybe when it's like the beginning, everything is flowers. Oh, it's just a shoe. It's just a shoe. It's just a shoe. Oh my goodness, can they do the shoes? Like, like you step over those little things that really makes the difference for you. In the long run, you become resentful, but then you don't take responsibility that you didn't acknowledge, or you didn't took action or address from the first time it happened.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, so.
All right, so basically the key principles, essentially, that's all part of the way that we kind of comprehend situations that we're in, the way that we frame, things in our mind, and basically kind of do those evaluations to help you determine like when.
Can I share something about like context? Have you heard about context is decisive?
Context?
Context.
I'm not understanding that word.
Context.
Like people are contacts? Contacts in your eyes? What?
No, context is like a
context.
framework.
Context.
A framework of something. And you're pointing out like how you created your framework makes the difference in how you interact with the situation.
Correct.
I have a little story that I used to use that for a leadership course I used to lead. So there's three men doing the same job, doing the same thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first one was approach and say like, you know, gentlemen, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. And he said, I'm breaking stones. They were doing the same thing. The second one said, gentlemen, what are you doing? He said, I'm earning a living.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one, he asked, what are you doing? And he said, I'm building up a cathedral.
Mm-hmm.
They all doing the same thing.
Right.
But their frame of mind, the way they're approaching, the quality of their lives,
Mm-hmm.
it totally altered because the context was decisive.
Right, and that is an actually very useful tool, what Liliani just presented you guys, because that is respect of perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And that is empowering. When you have the ability to go with outside of yourself and really hear a person and appreciate their perspective,
Mm-hmm.
then you guys can come together in
Yeah.
mutual understanding or compromise. But when we're so self-absorbed and lack self-awareness, we only consider our own perspective in situations.
Well,
and
you
that's so
mentioned
damaging.
you mentioned that you like Tony Robbins and you watch a lot of their videos and his videos and everything. I participate with Landmark and I do a lot of self-development and self-professional courses, and we have both sites in our in the link. And those trainings that I'm bringing up, like I just said, comes from there, right? Why I'm saying that, I just forgot.
Yeah, I don't know why you're saying that either, because they can't get those links. I guess we can put them in our comments.
Yeah, but why I'm pointing that out is that I lost it. My framework is gone. It's empty now.
It's okay.
It's empty. What we were talking about before, I said that.
Well, you're telling us where you learned.
Yeah,
I was compliment you on what you just said, and you were kind of sharing with them where you learned it
Yeah,
from.
but what did you mention about? Like I was talking about the context is decisive, and then the framework. And what is the point I want to make? As soon as you start talking, I will remember,
it's gonna come
and
to
I will
you.
interrupt you again.
All right. So some key principles of good mental
Oh,
health.
I know. See, it's like you mentioning like how you communicate with someone makes a difference when you know their point of view, right?
Yeah, no,
Like
appreciation.
trying to understand.
Appreciation for another person's perspective.
Yes.
Like you have to visit that. Yes.
Mhm. So I like an example. That's why I brought it up, Landmark, because I remember something about the communication course that they say something about. Imagine imagine we have an elephant between us,
Okay.
and we are not seeing anything else than what we see.
We see an elephant in the room.
Yeah, there's an elephant in the room. But let's say I'm like, the elephant is right here, right?
Yes.
I see the trunk,
Mm-hmm.
you see the butt,
Mm-hmm.
the camera is seeing like the side,
Yes.
and there's like thousands of view. If we had like let's say like 10 people around this elephant,
Yeah.
each person you would have a different view,
Mm-hmm.
and every view was valid.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing wrong of the same elephant.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we go in relationship and we talk to people like my view is the view,
Yeah.
and
No.
you're wrong.
Yeah.
There's no butt on that elephant. There's only a trunk,
Yeah. Narcissist.
right? Like, but bringing that to like really like stopping and thinking, because it's not automatic.
Yeah.
We don't go around like, let me understand your point of view to see how I can create my point of view with.
Yeah.
No, you're wrong. You listen to me.
Yeah.
This is how it is.
Yeah.
This is how it is.
So some key principles. Let's keep moving on here. So inverting problems to understand them better. That is an exercise. That is something you need to put in motion. Inverting the problem so you can understand them better. That means essentially dissecting a situation. You know, you can do that internalized, you know, you can do it internally, or you can do it with, if it's an
Tell me
issue.
something you have done like that. Do you remember something you recently have done that?
Sure, today with you.
Okay, go for it.
So, if this was an isolated situation, it would not even matter. But because there's a slight pattern
There is.
when it comes to.
Well, let me acknowledge and I'm making fun of this. I'm reliable for being late.
Okay, so when it comes to being, you know, on time to something and managing time, I'm very good at it. I'm punctual. And so those are my set of standards, right? And so in Liliani's
My set of standards, like I'm getting everything done.
she's notoriously been late to the filming of our episodes. If she called, and I let her call the time because, you know, her schedule is so busy. And so, for instance, today she says, I should be finishing at 3:30. I should be there to you by 4:30. So I am ready, lights on, everything. I'm ready at 4:30. And then she calls me about, texts me about
like I'm leaving
4:20.
now.
I'm leaving in about 5 minutes. See how detailed oriented I'm remembering everything. And so I said, wow, I said, I thought you called it for 4:30. Anyways.
Well, which is good because some people don't even say. You actually express something.
Yeah.
Some people just keep holding,
Right.
doesn't say anything, and then blow it, right?
And I wasn't gonna say anything, but because I am a trained professional, because I want to continue to evolve and grow, I right away went to a negative frame
Yeah,
of
this
mind.
is really cool because we are using this to really example
Yeah.
what we do.
Yeah.
Like, right?
And the way that negative frame of mind manifested itself was, she doesn't respect me, or she thinks that, you know, her time is more valuable than my time. Or now, you know, I changed my calendar to make sure that I was ready to go. So not resentment, because resentment's too strong of a word, but just like,
Frustration.
do I need to address this because it's been several times now? Or no, you know, right away I said, no, change the framework. And I said, listen, she's getting in her car and she's driving 20-25 minutes to come see me. She's working hard. I support her success. She's working hard. She's running her business. And so what is 15 or 20 minutes in the big picture? You know, we have a great thing going, great relationship building, and I was able to dispose of those negative thoughts. So that is quickly looking at a situation, not giving it power, right, to overcome me and change my whole, you know, emotional state. I just changed the way I process the information.
And I thank you, and you know,
and I wasn't going to communicate.
And trust me,
her.
like I feel bad as you know, and I don't say it, but
I bet she'll never be late again.
no, I will.
Oh.
I think what I would do, I would be more responsible about telling you the truth time I can be, because I try to make it work everywhere, and then I express myself. But okay, that's a different pattern.
But you just touched on something, because this is part of the framework, and mind you, it's not always your responsibility to change the way that you see a situation. Sometimes and you have to stay true to your boundaries. People have to respect your boundaries. So she's saying, no, I probably will be late again, but maybe I'll just make sure the way I communicate it to.
No. For me to not be late again,
Yeah.
I have to say no. I have to not be flexible. So let's say I need to fit in a client.
Well, yeah, on that end, right.
Right. And that's the difficult for me.
But what I was about to say is, or I could change. I can compromise and say, you know what? If knowing her now, maybe if she says 4:30, I'm just going to automatically assume it'll be closer to 5. But is that fair? Is that something? Well, but what it is it's compromise between two individuals, so that we don't have to make a mountain out of a molehill.
I think that I think very valuable. Look, it doesn't excuse me being late, okay? And it is a problem here. But I think if I take myself out of the situation, what I think is really valuable for you doing that, you got a better quality of life from the time you saw that I was late to the time I arrived, you had a better, because you could have lived in frustration and upset,
Oh yeah.
and you chose, when you shift your mindset about the situation, you shift your mood.
Bingo.
You shift the quality of your life altered.
Right.
Not if I'm late or not, like you became powerful with you without me impacting you.
Yeah. And I promise you, listeners, the more that you do that, the more that you turn that switch, the moment you recognize where your mind is going, if it's starting to, go downhill or negative, and as soon as you recognize that, you quickly turn it around and make it positive, it will become habit forming.
Yeah.
You'll be able to turn that on immediately.
And here's my promise to you. I will communicate with you when I need more time in advance so you can do other things instead of waiting for me.
Right. So inverting problem, that goes back to that key point, inverting problems to understand them better, right? And better means essentially like dissecting it a little bit more.
Shifting the mindset,
Yeah.
right?
Distinguishing between first level thinking, such as quick decisions based on common sense, and then second level thinking, which is a deeper analysis of the consequences. So that just means like, if you have a goal in mind and you want to achieve like a positive or a result, if you approach this argument or this conversation in this way, what's the outcome? Try and project what the outcome's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, is that the outcome you were hoping to achieve?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's something that you can say, whatever you resist persists.
Whatever you resist persists.
And whatever you accept disappear.
Uh-huh.
So when you are resisting something, when something happened and you do a quick decision, you're probably not creating anything, you're reacting to that.
Yeah.
As a reaction, what do you think is going to lead?
And usually those first reactions are purely emotional.
Yeah, and it comes from a disempowering context.
Yeah.
It's a trigger.
Yeah.
You don't go like, oh, I'm going to love you right now because you make me upset.
Yeah.
I'm going to like,
Yeah, exactly. So let's go over some of these. I know you have a lot to contribute. Let's go over some of these helpful and practical tips to help change the mind frame of your thoughts. So identifying limiting beliefs and replace them with empowering
How
ones.
do you do that?
So for instance, well, you just gave an example regarding to the shoes, but I'll give another one. If I am in a relationship, let's just say it's a female relationship, and essentially or even a male-female relationship, and the female says, listen, this is my age, this is what I bring to the table, this is as good as it's gonna get because I'm not young anymore. If you buy into that, it's your new life philosophy, that's your new belief, then you're going to be stuck in that situation. Mm-hmm. But if you take charge and say, no, I'm not happy, I'm not at peace with my decision, I'm not flourishing, I'm not growing, then you have to make a change that empowers your choices, your options. Same with the job. It would be the same situation. This is as good as it's going to get. Pays my bills. I think no one's going to hire me because of my age. Well, if you don't change your mindset, no, I've got a lot of value to offer,
Yeah, I think we already spoke on this, to recognize the pattern, the unworkability of the pattern, and like, what is the limiting belief that keeps me taking those actions? Because the actions are correlated to the thoughts, right?
Yeah, or lack of action.
And I like something you mentioned that I read in your notes is the meditation. Like a lot of people do prayers and meditation to really like get grounded, get like, okay, be connected to what are my thinking process that is in the way of me achieving all the, the greatness that is within me.
Yeah, and that you just hit on number 2, basically forming of meditation and working on self-affirmations, kind of recharging your your mind as to the way that you respond to things in your life, triggers in your life.
Do you have mantras that you like tell yourself?
Well, I do affirmations daily in the sense of analyzing my day, how it went, and if there's anything negative, I take those negatives as growth to help growth. And then I take all the positives and I reaffirm that in the midst of a, let's say, not a great day, these are the positive
you keep
things.
Practicing that.
Yep. And I just, those are what I use. And I actually use negative energy and positive energy to help me grow. You know, some people just say take the negative energy and toss it. Well, you can do that, that's fine. But at some point, you know, I mean, you're going to constantly have negative situations in your life, but if you can learn to take something negative and reframe it and use it as energy to help you grow.
And knowing you, I know you also read a lot from the Bible, and the Bible and all the scriptures and religions, I believe, has like positive way of thinking and creating those mantras for you to really exercise empowerment.
Yeah, I have to read the Bible because I'm a sinner.
Wow.
Okay, so expand your perspective by learning how successful people think. Study leaders ahead of you to gain new insights and think bigger. I remember my Nana. She used to say to me, hang out, socialize with people better than you, you know? And at that time when I was young, teenager, I thought, that's horrible. That's like superficial, Nana. I'm only going to hang out with people better than me? What about, you know? So, but I understand what she meant. She meant to learn from them. You know, if you want to become a, you know, an IT person, you know, and work strictly with AI, well then take charge and go socialize and meet those individuals in that field and learn from them. If you want to be somebody who empowers other people, then surround yourself.
Create a podcast.
Yeah, you can do that. You can also surround yourself with people who empower you.
Yeah.
You know, don't be afraid to ever learn from other people.
Yeah.
Because there's so much we can learn from one another.
It takes a village to empower us.
Yeah.
To each other, right?
Yeah. And did I already do this one? Reframe problems as opportunities.
Oh, this is my favorite. Okay,
learning.
we're talking about the mantras. I have a few.
Okay.
So every time something happened that are not really nice, I always look, well, not nice, but anytime something happened that is not what I wanted to happen,
okay,
there's a few things that I say. One is, what is this an opportunity for?
Yeah.
And then another one is like in, you know, from my spiritual side, in the mind of God is already done. Even if like my right now doesn't look like it's gonna get done, but there's a perfection that in the mind of God is already done. And there's another one, so that those two, and another one is everything happens to move in the direction that we're supposed to do, and is for the better or the best for everyone's involved, best concern or best outcome. The best outcome is always going to turn out.
Yeah.
And like have myself in the faith that whatever is happening is for the better.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I said a lot of things. I want to live like emphasize.
Yeah.
What is this an opportunity for?
And since you brought God into the conversation, God is bigger than any problem.
Yes.
And so that mindset right there helps you, you know, listen, this problem is on the bigger scale.
It's already resolved.
Yeah.
It's already resolved.
Yeah. Okay. Now this is a very interesting one, guys, and this is so important. Seek out diverse viewpoints to broaden your mental models. And so give an example about respecting boundaries. So, okay, so that's why, like for me, I'm a conservative, but yet that doesn't mean I close my mind to watching like liberal networks or, you know, because I need to know how their mind works, and because that empowers me, right?
Uh-huh.
It gives me also an appreciation for the opposite.
Well, different points of view have
different-
something
yes.
to contribute as well.
You want to be well-rounded. You don't want to sit in a bubble. You don't be fearful of controversy or being challenged.
Mhm.
You know, I think that makes you kind of a complete, more rounded person.
Can I say something that really bothers me? People who are complainer, but they're not taking any action. They're not interested in finding out other people's view. They're just a complainer.
You mean they sit back, they complain, and they judge?
Yeah, exactly. They have a mindset.
Yeah.
It's a set mindset.
Yeah.
They're the righteous one about it, and
That's
and
a
then
lack of intellect. That is a lack of a person who hasn't taken the time to do the homework, like we said earlier, to educate themselves, to understand, so that you can have an articulate conversation, debate your perspective, your point of view, but yet still respect a person for their choices, right? Till you walk in another man's shoes, you just never know. All right, so and then of course we talk about, before you respond to any situation, one thing before you take time to
take a deep breath.
Remain in silence, and think about it, and again focus on the ultimate goal. What are you hoping to achieve? What is it you want to achieve, and how do you want to be treated as a person? So that's
one thing that I do in that regard is like, what do I have to say would make a difference? Like, does it make a difference if I give my opinion, or how can I create my opinion in a way that is to add on value instead of making something wrong?
Right.
That makes a difference in the quality of relationships as well.
It sure does. And also another thing too is if you and I were to sit down to discuss an issue that we're having in our relationship, I'm going to pay attention to the sensories. I'm going to pay attention to your body language. I'm going to pay attention to your eyes. Are you closing off to what I'm saying? Are you on your phone?
I think that all of that goes into our next episode that is coming up about communication.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is those are signs to me that what I'm talking about is not effective. It's not being effective. It's not being received on your end.
You really pay attention how it's receiving over there.
Received, and if I've seen that it's not igniting a positivity, I'm going to quickly change the way that I'm going to communicate with you. I'm going to try and target it. And so that's kind of being cognitive to your audience, kind of understanding your audience too, and to be effective in how you kind of, quickly change in the way you approach a situation or set of circumstances. Okay, so the last thing I want to say on this is the growth mindset. Keep this as something that your go-to. Growth mindset. I like myself just the way I am. And remember that a symbiotic relationship, in such a relationship, each part helps the other thrive. So going back to when we said people that sometimes as we evolve and mature in age, we simply think, hey, I'm 58 years old. I've had good relationships. I'm happy where I'm. I don't need to change. If you have a problem with who I am or that I'm not the way you want me to be,
I'm fine.
You don't have the right to ask me to change. Well, that is a setup for failure. And the reason why is because we're talking about relationships. We're not talking about you by yourself as a solo and how you go about and conduct your daily life, or your business. It's you have to always say, what do I bring to the table in this relationship? And if this person is requesting or bringing these things to my attention, don't be afraid to entertain it and hear what that person is saying, because you might have been doing well or okay as an individual. But now it's a matter of comfort. Okay, you don't agree. I can see it in your eyes.
Well, I want to go a little bit deeper.
Okay.
No, I want to go a little bit deeper because I do a lot of interactions with clients, right? Yeah. And coaching and so on, has been doing this for many years. And I just recently had somebody say to me, like, oh, in all these years, I have never had someone really read me so well like you did, and I just met the person. A lot of this is my opinion about this. My view isn't a view. It's not the truth. It's just the view from my experiences.
Please don't use the word view.
A perspective, is that better?
No, I was poking at a show. Can't stand.
Oh, the view. You know, I learned English with that show 20 years ago.
No.
But anyway, that's another subject. A lot of that is a facade. Like, it's just the way I am. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Because underneath, there's so much sadness and loneliness and resignation that doesn't want to be spoken, doesn't want to deal with it. And it's easier to say, I don't care. You know, take me the way I am and that's it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of psychosomatic, like the emotions manifesting as disease that goes deeper in the body.
Yeah.
So I would say if you're acting like that, and I mean, if you're content with your life and you're happy, that's fine. But my experience is that that's not the reality.
Yeah.
That's probably what you see in social media. But when you put your head on the phone, your head on the pillow, are you really content? Are you really grateful?
Yeah.
Are you really at peace with the relationships in your life?
And sometimes it's not about like, hey, for this relationship to work, you need to change who you are. No, it's not. That's not what we're talking about.
No, that's
it
not
would be,
it.
hey, because I'm the breadwinner or because I'm working so hard, I would like to come home and have you cook dinner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, I don't cook.
Can we create agreements? Like, let's create agreement. Like,
Yeah.
can I be the breadwinner and you do the cooking? Or if you don't, can you go to work and pay someone to
Right.
cook for us? Like, let's create an agreement. Let's speak up. Let's
Right.
be in communication instead of like, this is how I am, deal with me,
Yeah,
or
just-
go away, or divorce, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how many couples are in divorce because they cannot create communication?
Yeah.
We'll save that for the next
Yeah.
communication episode.
Yeah,
Let's
we
wrap
have,
it up.
We have one coming on. Yeah. Well, did you?
No, it's all good.
It was
It's
all
my notes are exactly like interacting, dancing with you.
Nice.
Yeah. So you want to read my quote?
You want me to read your quote?
Well, the quote that I look into the
Okay.
internet. So your turn tonight.
You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view. That is, in a nutshell, summarizes everything that we just talked about.
Yeah.
So we thank you guys for coming in. This is a really good topic. I would not be surprised if we do a follow-up episode.
Yeah, that
to
would be
this,
really cool.
because there's so many intricate parts of it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mental health. Empowering mindset is mental health. So work on it. And thank you for watching us. Make sure you subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you next episode.
Thanks, everybody.